In today's video, I'm going to be discussing My Adventures with Superman, episode 1. This is going to be a 2, maybe a 3-part series, as there's a couple of different aspects that I wanted to cover. The first one is this aspect where Clark is basically telling the rest of the Daily Planet what his goals are or what he's planning on doing with Lois for Valentine's Day. So that's going to be part 1. Part 2 is going to be something that Jimmy ended up saying to Lex, and that's going to be part 2. Which we're going to be doing that one in the next coming days. So you'll want to subscribe to the channel to make sure that you don't miss that video. It's this clip right here, basically. But so we don't have to make the videos too terribly long. We'll split it up into 2 parts, maybe even 3, because there's another part as well, too, at the beginning of episode 1, where Clark is having a dream / vision, but it's not really a dream or a vision. It is a vision more than a dream. But anyways, let's jump right on in to this video and get on started.
Spend on these.
Clark, as I'm now one of the bosses at the
So this is the first thing that I wanted to show.
Figured out. First, I'm gonna pick up Lois's favorite ramen, extra spicy for her, mild for me. Then we'll sit on the roof of the Daily Planet and watch the sunset.
Sit on the roof?
So this part is the part that kind of bugs me, and maybe it bugs you as well too. And I've noticed this in my own personal life, and it's why I guess it does bug me, and maybe it's an ego thing. But nonetheless, this lady comes in and she's like, soup on the roof? Like, that's a terrible idea. And the reason why she believes that to be a terrible idea is because she herself would hate that as a Valentine gesture. She's more of somebody that's like, I need to have like this big extravagant thing where maybe I go out to this nice restaurant or this nice little dinner place or something like that, but that's exactly why she and Clark aren't dating, and that's why Clark is dating Lois, because Lois does find that like this is more romantic, and it's about finding a woman that enjoys the things that you do. Because like for me personally, dude, like this is much more enjoyable. Like it's a matter of just spending time with one another. People over exaggerate on like what you need to do on Valentine's Day, how you need to treat your significant other, and I'm not saying like don't go out and do these big things, because as you saw also in the episode a little bit later, is the guy where Lois ends up going to one of her old colleagues that's a PR person at this space place in space restaurant like NASA basically. He ends up telling them like, oh yeah, I'm taking my wife out to Paris, and that also gets Clark on edge of like, oh wait, what? Like he's also doing this big adventure. But like the thing about that is like that's what him and his wife have determined, the guy from the space station. Whereas like Clark and Lois, like they have this whole different relationship, this whole different dynamic. As you can see here in this clip right here. So like Lois and them, like this is the type of woman that you need that says this type of thing.
Does it ever bother you that I'm not human?
Does it ever bother you that I am?
You are perfect the way you are.
See, in this right here, you guys, this is why their relationship works, is because they understand one another. They don't try to like win or do a one-up on one another. It's just like there's just a mutual understanding of like, hey, I love you for you, regardless of like the romantic gestures that you do. And like this is something that only Superman and Lois can do. Whereas if we went back to the person at the Daily Planet, she might have a different opinion of Clark, like if she understood that she was Superman. Yet she's only going off the information that she herself has, and she doesn't understand the intricate like weavings. I just did like a weird little thing with my hand. Intricate weavings of like Lois's and his relationship. So they're just using what they think is right and what is wrong for their own relationships. It's like you can kind of even see this lady, like sure they're mocking him, but like she's still smiling like, that's actually quite nice and adorable. Or like everybody else is kind of angry at Clark around what he does, and it does get into Clark's head, which is sad to see, as you can see in this scene right here.
Mace will take one under. Hey, you okay?
No! What should I do about tonight? Everyone thought my plans were,
Bad? Boring? A great way to end your relationship?
He's ready for us.
See, but like, it's cool that Jimmy says this like straight up to Clark, but it's like, Clark knows that like if Lois truly loves him, and if he was too, and this is maybe something that we all need to understand, it's something that I understand now too, is like if the person doesn't love you for you, is that really the person that you want to be with? And you have to constantly remind yourself that and think about that as like, if I do this romantic gesture that I find romantic and I find it peaceful, like sitting on the roof and having ramen or whatever it may be, or even just like shifting in your plan to like being able to see the northern lights or whatever it is, like that's what they find romantic. It's not about the adventure, it's not about like the thing that happens, it's more just about being with that person that you're wanting to be with, which is why I liked how Lois has this view where she's so focused on work.
And now this happens.
Wait, it's Valentine's Day?
You forgot?
Like the right woman, dude, she doesn't even care. Like she doesn't worry about these like trivial, mundane things of like, oh, it's Valentine's Day. It's like every day in reality is Valentine's Day when you think about it. Like when you're spending the time with the person that you want to, you need to be doing the things that are enhancing their life. And I do this with myself. It's like, why do you have to have this one specific day that you go all out on? I've never understood that concept. I've never got it. I'm under the impression where it's just like, you might as well just do what feels right for you. And if that doesn't jive with what other people are doing, like I was telling you at the beginning, with these people at the Daily Planet, like they were basically making Clark feel ashamed for having his idea of what he wanted to do with Lois. And I just never get that concept. It's like everybody has their own opinions and their own ideas and their own beliefs. And what I was talking about in the last video I did on Fallout, which if you haven't watched that, I highly recommend going and checking that out. Because it's like everybody has their own view and perspective on what they believe the right way to have a relationship is. But at the end of the day, dude, like at the end of the day, you, Clark, or you yourself, like whoever you are, like you know what your significant other needs. You know what has to be done. You know the right route that has to be taken. And if the right people aren't around with you, then like so be it. Let them go. I was talking about that on one of the lives I did on one of the other channels I have with a guy that was talking about that. So it's really just a matter of like doing what you feel is right. And some people might think it's crazy. Some people might make you feel ashamed for wanting to go after and chase your dreams, but that's because they themselves don't have the courage that you do within your heart to be able to be the Superman that you are, to be the hero that you are, to be the person that is able to bring light to the world when all you ever see is darkness. Because like Clark, he's so happy. Like you can see him taking out his note. Everybody's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm going to read her a poem. Like, I love this thing because that's just who he is. But these other people, they aren't him, but they want to have him fit into the mold that they believe him to be. So when he does this thing that isn't quote unquote the thing that they want, they scold him and shame him into believing that his ideas or his perspective on how to have a romantic gesture is wrong. But like Lois didn't fall in love with these people over here. She fell in love with Clark because of his Smallville and his charm and his like just I don't want to say ignorance, but like his natural demeanor about himself of wanting to save people and help people out. That's what she fell in love with, and that's why him and her work so well. But like everybody else, they just don't understand that. And this is something that I've come to realize, and I hope you realize now too, that like you have to do what your heart says. You have to follow your intrinsic values and your intrinsic gut. Because at the end of the day, dude, like you're the one person that you have to spend the rest of your life with. You don't have to spend life with anybody else. It's you versus you, and other people are going to try to change your views or your opinions or on what needs to happen or how things need to be. But like if you truly want to be like Superman, you have to step out and do the things that are right within yourself. And the best way that I would recommend you doing this is by, as I was talking about in the last video, like grabbing a piece of paper, writing down like, okay, well, what do I want in a woman? Do I want a woman that needs to have all these fancy things? Or am I happy just like having a woman that it just is chill with me staying on the roof and like us watching the sunset and like just doing like normal everyday mundane things? The problem with social media that we've run into at least I've run into and I've noticed, is like we see all these big romantic gestures or these big romantic like feats or trips or things, but it's just like that's not how everyday life is. Everyday life is this. It's us going through the motions of, maybe not even the motions, but us going through like just like, hey, I just want to spend time with you and I just want to share these moments with you so that we can kind of like just be together. Like it doesn't have to be this big massive thing like flying out to Paris like I was talking about in the beginning of the video. It doesn't have to be us going on like these crazy wild adventures like that maybe sometimes happens in Rick and Morty on other videos that I've done there, or like going out to Antarctica. Like it doesn't have to be all these big adventures. All it has to be is just you and your girl together, and as long as you're together, it doesn't matter what's happening. But I'd highly recommend writing those down of like what you want to do, how you want to have your woman, and then sticking to those principles and values and saying no to anybody else that gets in your way. Wonderful. I hope that helped, and I'll actually leave you with one last thing, and then we'll wrap up the video. First off, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Completely free, click of a button. But just remember that other people are going to be pushing their ideas of how you need to behave onto you because this is how they wish that they could behave, or how, let's say, how somebody else is wanting them to behave in their relationship and they aren't behaving that way. So they're going to be pushing those ideas onto you because they believe that that's the thing that they want. Because as I've talked about in another video, it's just like all we have is our own stories that we tell ourselves. And these are the romantic gestures that maybe have happened to them in the past. So they want to make sure that that happens with this other person as well. But it's like they don't understand their relationship that you have with like Lois and Clark or whatever it may be with your significant other. And it's a matter of understanding those principles and understanding that like you are the one that she fell in love with and not this other version that somebody else wants you to be. Because if you were that version, then you wouldn't be dating the girl that you're dating right now. And that's just something to keep in mind in the back of your head. Something that I think about constantly. It's something that I've had to overcome myself as well. Because there's been girls in my past that I've wanted to like get close with just because maybe they look good or they smell good or they seem like would be great fits, but it's also like all they do is they go out and drink and go to the bars all the time and they mess around and play golf. And I know it's just one of those things where it's just like we don't jive on that level. Whereas like I'm over here like doing my reps and making a life that's worth living. And I feel like it's more exciting to have like women reach out to you later in your life and be like, wow, I messed up. Like you're the one person that I regret I would have done things differently with. Whereas, like, that's what happens when you stay true to yourself compared to, say, conforming to the ideas of how you need to treat your woman on Valentine's Day or man or whatever it may be. On Valentine's Day or any day of the week, at the end of the day, like, it's your choice. You get to decide. She fell in love with you, not this other version that other people want you to be with. And, yeah, it's just you got to remain true to yourself, and the right woman, the right friends, the right people will start to come into your life as you do that. It's been happening with this channel. It's why I create the videos that I do, and it's why the next video on Superman that you're going to want to check out is based around that concept, because it's something that Jimmy said to Lex. So you'll want to make sure that you tune into that next video, and I'll see you guys in that one in the next day or two. Otherwise, have a good rest of your day, and we'll chat in the next one. Talk soon.